I'm reading question 4 of the 2015 California Bar Exam for first year students, aka babybar. Okay, so the reason I'm reading this is we just finished a defamation one, so I thought I'd go ahead and read a question that involves defamation. So basically, here we go. Abe was the head coach of the 5th grade girls basketball team. At elementary school, Bob, the assistant coach, blamed Abe for the team's poor performance. Seeking to have Abe fired, Bob accused Abe, after a game, of stealing money from the team fund. Bob made the accusation while standing in a crowd of students and parents. Bob knew the accusation to be untrue. In retaliation, Abe threw a basketball at Bob, who ducked to avoid being hit. The basketball missed Bob and struck Carl, a parent, in the face. Abe then went up to Bob and told him, "You'd better watch your back," which subsequently caused Bob to have nightmares. Abe was thereafter fired from his position as head coach. Based on Bob's accusation that Abe had stolen money from the team and he was unable to obtain a job in his chosen profession. Under what theories, if any, and against whom might Abe sue for damages? Discuss. 2. Under what theories, if any, and against whom might Bob sue for damages? Discuss. 3. Under what theories, if any, against whom may Carl sue for damages? Discuss. Okay, you can just pause this here and do a practice essay exam, and then I'm going to read you off 2 of the model answers that were selected from real students, which may not be 100%, but they're pretty darn good. So let's go. I'm going to go ahead and read answer A and B. So here's selected answer A. Defamation. A defamatory statement made by D concerning of P published to a third party that causes damages to P's reputation. So right off the bat, you can see that they're not writing out defendant. They're not writing the names. Abe is the plaintiff and Bob is the defendant, but they're just writing that in, and that's okay, I guess. Here, Abe was the coach of the basketball team and was being blamed for the team's bad performance. Bob made an accusation in front of the crowd of students and parents. Bob knew the accusation to be false. This would constitute a defamatory statement because it is known to be false concerning of P, plaintiff. Here the statements were about Abe. He was mentioned directly, published to a third party. Here Bob made the statements in front of the students and parents who presumably understood, and it damages to P's reputation. Here being accused of stealing money would damage one's reputation because it implies that you're a dishonest person and reflects on your character as a person and morals. The facts indicate that due to the defamation, Abe was fired and was not able to obtain a job in his profession. Slander per se. Slander is spoken defamation. It is per se if it falls within the following categories: business, crime involving moral turpitude, chastity of a woman, and loathsome disease. Here the statements were regarding theft and dishonesty. This would constitute moral turpitude crime because it tarnishes P's reputation as an honorable and honest person and alludes that P is a criminal who stole money from the team fund. Additionally, it also falls within the business and professions category because as a head coach, he was held in a trust position to dispossess of the team's funds and trust in training the girls. This accusation would reflect badly on his ability to do his job and on his trustworthiness. Therefore, the defamation is slander per se, and if there are no damages, they would be presumed constitutional issues. If the P is a public figure, you need to prove actual malice, which is falsity, and fault as to the defamation. If it is a private person, you need to establish a prima facie case. A public person is one who gains notoriety or thrusts himself into the public eye. Here, Abe seems to be a public person amongst his peers because he's the head coach and is known by the students and the teachers. Usually all the students and the parents know the sports coaches. Not only was he known by his peers from the school, he coached since he was the head coach, but was also known by other schools that compete against the coach's team. Among the sports community, the coaches know of each other and the school coaches, thus other schools would know of Abe and his work as a coach. Whether he's a good coach and has won games or a bad one and lost championships. Therefore, in this regard, Abe will be considered a public person. Falsity and fault. There needs to be intentional or reckless disregard for the truth or falsity. If the matter is private, then there needs to be at least negligence. The facts state that Bob knew the statements to be false. Nevertheless, Bob intentionally made the statements in front of everyone with the purpose to damage Abe's reputation. Therefore, there is malice, and Abe would be entitled to recover actual damages and may recover punitive damages. Here the facts state that Abe lost his job due to the defamation, was not able to get other jobs because his reputation was tarnished. Therefore, Abe will be entitled to recover damages. Defenses. Qualified privilege. Bob will raise that his statements were privileged because they were for the public interest. Because it was in the interest of the school and the parents to know the type of coach Abe was. However, this defense will not hold because the statements were made intentionally with malice since he knew the statements weren't true. Intentional infliction of emotional distress. An extreme and outrageous intentional act that causes severe emotional distress on P. Here, the accusation of Abe to be a thief who stole money of the team's fund would be considered extreme and outrageous because it transcends the boundaries of decency, because one does not call another a thief in such a manner in front of parents and students in a big crowd. It would be embarrassing for a reasonable person and would cause severe emotional distress. Therefore, Bob will be liable for IIED and would have to pay damages that Abe incurred due to the severe emotional distress. This would be question 2, Bob versus Abe. Assault. Intentional act that causes reasonable apprehension of imminent harm to another person. Here Bob will argue that when Abe threw the basketball, it caused him to be apprehended because he believed that he was going to be hurt by the ball. Indeed, one can be hurt when a basketball is thrown at you. Bob even ducked, which shows that he was reasonably apprehended. Therefore, Abe will be liable for assault. Assault for the statement made by Abe. Here Bob will argue that the statement made by Abe, "You'd better watch your back," caused apprehension. However, words of future harm are not enough to constitute assault. There was no apprehension of imminent harm because it was a future threat. Therefore, there will be no assault for the statement made by Abe. Battery. Intentional act that causes harmful or offensive touching of another. Here, Abe threw the ball toward Bob. However, the ball never touched him. Therefore, there was no harmful or offensive contact, and he will not be liable for battery. Intentional infliction of emotional distress. Super definition. Here, Bob will argue that Abe's words, "You'd better watch your back," caused him severe emotional distress. However, these words alone are not extreme and outrageous to cause emotional distress. Abe is not accusing him of a crime nor calling him names. However, the court may find that this is extreme and outrageous because it was coupled with throwing of the basketball. Additionally, the facts state that Bob suffered nightmares, which are physical symptoms of severe emotional distress. Therefore, Abe may be liable for IIED defenses, self-defense. It can be used to protect, but has to be reasonable force necessary under the circumstances. Here, Abe will argue that he threw the ball to Bob because he made a defamatory statement about him in front of everyone. However, physical contact is not a reasonable response for a defamation. Therefore, this defense will not hold. Carl versus Abe Assault, super definition. Here, the facts don't state whether Carl saw the ball coming towards him or not. If he did, it was reasonable for him to be apprehended because a ball coming towards you is an imminent harm. Therefore, if Carl saw the ball was apprehended, Abe will be liable for assault, battery, super definition. Here the facts state that Abe threw the ball toward Bob, but instead hit Carl, thus causing Carl a harmful contact. Transfer intent. Under this doctrine, the intent to cause a tort to one may be transferred to another person, or if it caused a different tort than intended. Here the intent to Abe to hit Bob will be transferred to Carl. When Bob ducked, the ball hit Carl instead. This presumably caused him harm, or at least an offensive touching. Therefore, Abe will be liable for battery. Carl versus elementary school, vicarious liability. When an employer is liable for the conduct of his employees that are in the scope of employment. Here, Carl will try to sue the school because he was injured in the game organized by the school when Abe hit him with the basketball. Abe is the school basketball coach, thus the school employee, and he injured Carl while doing his job while coaching a game, which is within this employment scope. However, most courts don't impute liability to employers when the employee's conduct is intentional. Here, Abe's conduct was intentional toward a battery. Therefore, the school will not be liable for Abe's conduct. Selected answer B. Abe's claims. Abe versus Bob. Defamation when a defendant makes a false statement about another that he knows to be false or is negligent as to its truth or falsity and is communicated to a third party. He is liable to that person for all harm caused thereby. Okay, so this is going to be a little bit long. I'm going to put the link below and you can read the rest. It is to the entire... So this person breaks it apart with A, B, C. They have really nice headings. They've underlined stuff so it's easy on the reader. They're a little bit short, but the wrongful termination they got, the other person didn't get that. Now they get Bob's claims here. Assault, battery, intentional, throwing. So this person did a good job highlighting. And instead of writing super, it just says see above. Transferred intent. Now this one used better English and better highlighting. But the other one kind of broke it apart. And this one put in causation. Actual cause and proximate cause. The other one doesn't have that. Damages. The plaintiff needs to be harmed thereby. Defenses. It says there aren't good defenses. Okay, so this one, I don't know. I like the second one better. But I didn't read the whole thing. Alright, well, thanks for listening. The link's below. Take care. Bye.